humans, our brains emit a certain frequency, and when we are in our natural and like natural state, we are connected to the earth in the frequency that our brains emit, which is about 7.83
original
hertz. Yeah,
original state.
You know, and so, but all the things that have been fabricated around us for communication, the cell phones have their own little EM fields, and microwaves emit their own wavelengths, and it's bombarding us.
I want to stop you real quick, and for everybody out there who's listening, you know, when he's saying that the phone has its EMP field and the Earth has its own frequency, I just want to touch on this. Like, are you familiar with this, David, about the toroidal field?
Yes. Yeah,
so,
I know that.
I mean, it's an amazing thing. And the toroidal field, for you who don't know, it gets its name from the alchemical symbol of Taurus, the circle with the horns. And what it is the flow of energy, and how it's literally energy coming from one point and going around in through the bottom. I mean, I don't know. Could you explain it a little better? What's your opinion on toroidal fields?
Let's see. There is a natural flow of energy that exists in the universe that we are a part of. We are the offspring of that natural flow. So that flow is meant to exist through us and within us, and I think we have obstructed it, and we have allowed ourselves to become separated from it because of our attachment to all the things that generate fields that are not in sync with Earth. Like,
right, they're not waterfalls, they're not natural watering holes.
You know, like Bob Marley talked about it when he in his song Concrete Jungle. You know, it's like the concrete, the cities we build around us and all the frequencies that they block out from the earth that we are meant to exist in kind of isolates us, and it makes us, it keeps us away from what we're meant to be experiencing. And I believe, back to the point, which is that Orgonite helps to counter the negative wavelengths and allows the natural frequency of energy that's around us, that comes from the earth, that we're meant to experience, that keeps us healthy and physically balanced, to be more abundant. So we're talking about this this negative effect from these electrical frequencies. Most of them are operated on the fact that they are certain pitches of frequency, like certain vibrations. And if you haven't seen this, there's the Hertz scale, and it's really cool because if you find the one that labels everything as a frequency, you actually watch solid matter turn into like radiation. Like, you go through and you see how as the frequency goes up, like everything exists. And are you talking about cymatics?
No, I understand what you're saying, but I'm talking about just a physical scale. And if you go online, you can look up Hertz frequency scale, and it will list out all the way through this measurement of frequency that we have. You can see from the physical matter all the way to like gamma radiation. And in between, you have like colors of the rainbow, sounds, cells and things like that. Like, they all vibrate at their own frequency, and you can actually see that on a chart. And I thought that was just phenomenal. But you were talking about what did you just say?
No, I think I was following you there, and my understanding of that is that our sensory.
Cymatica.
I was talking about cymatics. So if somebody who's listening were to look up cymatics on YouTube, for example, they would find experiments where there is a table with a speaker underneath, where they put sand on top of a surface and project a frequency from that speaker from a very low decibel, like from a very low hertz, like I think they started about 100 or 200 hertz, and elevated up to about 1,000, 1,100, and at different intervals the sand organizes itself into sacred geometric patterns that are, so that's when you were talking about frequencies being raised and orchestrating themselves into certain patterns. That's what I thought of about cymatics. The cymatic experiment is where that is shown to be true.
Well, and I think that's a very interesting topic, because what I'm talking about is more of a physical chart that describes the existence at each frequency. But what you're talking about is when that frequency is emitted as a tone, the geometrical pattern that it creates out of the sand. Because that's what it does. It creates geometrical patterns, which trip me out. Because I know exactly what you're talking about. I've watched those videos, and the patterns that they make is pretty phenomenal. And it's interesting to think that it's like how in the mystic teachings they say that the pentagram is a geometrical pattern of man. You wonder, like, if you took the frequency, like if you found like what is our frequency and then emanated it into a thing of sand, would it make a pentagram?
Well, that's the thing, is that there is a natural frequency that we are in tune with because we exist on this planet. We are part of this planet. We are cells in a larger organism, and
right.
There is a harmony that exists in that structure. Let's see. So, I wasn't prepared to answer these kinds of questions. So,
if you talk to me, man, you will go down the rabbit hole, and all the information that you can share with the world will come out. Because I'm a big proponent of sharing information and really figuring out reality. I appreciate you coming on, though, because this is a real fun topic. I know for me, I've learned a little bit of the Rosicrucian teachings and working with vowel sounds and different phonetical sounds as far as vibrating, like singing. And it's pretty interesting because there's even been studies on people who are like singers and how they may not live the healthiest lifestyle, and their bodies will actually produce like antibodies and white blood cells after performances and stuff, and including athletes. But we expect athletes to maintain that stuff. But the vibrations in themselves, when you sing them, it's pretty interesting because they do have the studies that talk about the different vibrations and the chakras. So like different tones. And then in different cultures, it's like different tones match up to the different chakras, which, I'm a firm believer we are masters of our own reality. And as long as you have the intent, it really doesn't matter what sound you're making, as long as you're actually, focusing on that. Like when it comes to, I don't know if you're familiar with the 7 chakras and how there's 7 endocrine systems. And there's a theory that the 7 chakras actually match up to the 7 endocrine systems, and the energy of those chakras regulates the hormonal compounds that are released by those endocrine organs. And so when you focus on certain tones on those chakras, you're really focusing vibration. So like if I went, ooh, as we're talking about the cymatics, it's the same kind of aspect. I'm pushing that vibration at that section of living cells that are vibrating at their own state. You know what I'm saying?
I can see what you're saying in my mind. That's the crazy part. I totally understand what you're saying. I have done a lot of research just trying to understand what frequencies are important, like how to find a frequency that I need to be in tune with in order to find truth. And a lot of it comes back to chanting, and you mentioned that the seven sacred sounds. Each chakra has its own color, its own purpose, its own and its own frequency as well. And I believe that the chant that we have come to kind of interpret as, in a very simple way, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, right? That's what it's come to nowadays, but 1,000 years ago, we were doing it in the pyramids, and it was creating a vibration that kept Earth in harmonious balance. We forgot how to do that. So.
And I mean, the fact that you mentioned the pyramids, that's funny. I got to mention that there's a video on YouTube. If you haven't seen it or heard of it, you look at people. Let's see. I think it's singing in the pyramid, and there's people nowadays who know about these things and actually get the chance to go to the pyramid of Giza, and they lay in the king's tomb and vibrate. Like they actually sit there and go, oh, and the sound. Like there's one clip, and you actually just, the mic on the camera, you can hear it. It's not like the audio, the voice. It is just a vibration, and you hear a tone. And this one guy who's there all the time and is like a part of the mystical tours or whatever, and it's like a school, a mystical school. He actually knows the spots where he can vibrate at with his mouth, and it just like echoes, like it just encompasses you. And like I said, you can hear the difference just in the auto recording of the equipment they're using. And that was pretty phenomenal, because you could only imagine what it would be like to be like entrapped by vibrations bouncing on off the walls, especially if you're sensitive to that stuff. Because some of us are, and that, that's a whole nother state of consciousness.
Well, it's not just a matter of being sensitive to it. I think that we are, because of the bombardment of frequencies that we receive from all the man-made shit that we're not used to, that's not from Earth, we are so out of tune with that natural frequency that when we experience it, it seems abhorrent. It seems out of tune, like we're not used to it, because we're so used to what we hear all the time, which isn't actually the real frequency that we're used to. And if we can all somehow find our way back to what we all know is the real frequency, and it's written all over the earth, it's transcribed on thousands of rocks in a multitude of places, and it's right before our eyes. And all we need to do is like dissolve our belief system that that's not real, and something along that line.
Well, I think it's really interesting because with what you're saying about going back, when it comes to our history, we are I love the term, what is it? God. We're a species with amnesia because we don't even know our own history. Like, we don't even know what we're going back to. Because if you look at the stories of old, the existence of being a conscious, sorry, I just choked. Being a conscious being, being a conscious being with the capability of understanding, or not even understanding, but just knowing about these vibrations. All the stories of old, metaphor or not, they talk about more to life. And the fact that, we can talk about this stuff and everything, but we still have to go back to the job. You still have to make the money. I mean, we're obviously not getting it then, because if we were getting it and we not only talked about it, but we lived it, we wouldn't have to be, doing jobs that we don't really want, but we do because we can and we need money. Like, that is a completely illogical way of living with such a blessed experience. I think that if we really knew our real history, we would see that we are capable of building and living with technologies that are way superior than what we see in front of us as the material technology. And that's, I don't know if you know stories of Atlantis, but they talk about